Welcome to Conversations with Dr. Skip Mason,
pastor, preacher, historian, author,
teacher, librarian, archivist, world traveler,
collector, family historian, avid reader, and creator of the popular Vanishing Black Atlanta Facebook page.
But a lot of folks who love history.
Most importantly, he's our dad who loves his family and who taught us the importance of our history and having important conversations.
Join him now for this episode of Conversations with Dr. Skip.
Well, good afternoon to my CME brothers. It's been a minute. Actually, it's been a while since I've had an opportunity to infringe upon your Sunday afternoon. There shouldn't be any football games or basketball games, maybe, so you have a little time to join us. I am so delighted to welcome you and glad to be back for this important session and partnering with our wonderful General Secretary, our Chief Information Officer, the hardest working lady in CME business, the one and only Dr. Theresa Duhart, who is sharing with me from somewhere far away from here. I'm not going to disclose. She may decide to do that, but I'm so delighted to see Dr. Duhart. Before I greet her formally, let me acknowledge our distinguished College of Bishops and spouses, our general officers and their spouses, the chair of our CIT committee, Bishop Walker, co-chair Bishop Brown, and to all of you, my wonderful brothers and sisters. Dr. Duhart, welcome. I think this is the first time that you and I have really had a chance to partner together, and I appreciate you inviting me to share in this magnificent tech talk this afternoon.
Thank you, and greetings, Dr. Mason, and to our CME family. I am so glad that you are sharing as host, co-host of this really important Tech Talk. And I'm grateful for you hosting it because, again, I am out of the country and on vacation. So I appreciate you doing this for me. Thank you.
Well, the honor is all mine. And who would not want to end Women's History Month with this amazing panel of sisters in technology that we're going to be sharing with today. And I'm just going to put some of their faces up so that you can see this panel that has been lovingly put together with these amazing women who are doing it professionally and also for their church as well. But before we begin the introductions, and Dr. Duhart will introduce our panelists, I want to roll a little clip that might set the tone for what we are trying to do today.
Having women of color as a part of the conversation is important. The unique thing about Black Women Talk Tech is the fact that we are founders. So we're coming at this problem from a founder's point of view, as opposed to literally like anyone else.
I walked in that room and I literally gasped. I've not seen a room as a tech founder in 4 years where almost every single person in that room was a person of color and also a woman. That is, it's everything. It's everything.
I'm really excited to be at this event. They are really bringing together women from across the city who are doing incredible things in the field of technology and startups and entrepreneurship. This is not a space that you're often in. I think the fact that Microsoft is such a huge supporter.
So not yet, Whitney. You don't come until the end of the show. Okay, so just hang tight, Whitney. We have some amazing sisters in our own church, and not that we didn't know, but now we know. And so, Dr. Duhart, I'm going to ask you if you would do the honor of presenting our first slate. We're dividing it into two sections. We're going to be speaking with the first 5 and then the second 5 following it. So, Dr. Duhart, would you do the honors of introducing our panelists today, please?
Absolutely. We have some wonderful first ladies in technology. Mrs. Sharon Doss, First Lady from the 3rd Episcopal District. She's from the 3rd Episcopal District under the leadership of Bishop Sylvester Williams Sr. She's First Lady at St. John CME Church in Detroit, Michigan. pastored by her husband and my birthday twin, Reverend Dr. Alfred Richard Doss. They have two children, two children, excuse me. First Lady Sharon is an active member of the Minister's Spouses, Widows, and Widowers Department of the CME Church, currently president of the Michigan, Indiana region. But she has been with CIT since its inception, from a ministry, connectional department, now a general department, serving as she has served as vice president of the department, and now she is the business administrator. And that is First Lady Sharon Doss. Our next guest is another First Lady, Reverend Amaryllis West. She's First Lady from the 6th Episcopal District under the leadership of Bishop Thomas L. Brown Sr. She enjoys ministry as an ordained elder in the CME Church, where she serves alongside her husband, Reverend Dr. Curtis L. West Jr. at the Butler Street CME Church in Atlanta. They have three children, and Reverend First Lady Reverend Amaryllis. She is doing amazing work with the 6th Episcopal District Tech Team. Our next First Lady hails from the 8th Episcopal District, Mrs. Tina Hill Jones, First Lady, and she hails from Texas under the leadership of Senior Bishop Lawrence Reddick. She is the spouse of Reverend Jonathan Jones Sr., the pastor of Stewart Chapel, CME Church in Fort Worth, Texas. First Lady Sister Tina has held various leadership positions in the 8th Episcopal District. She is currently serves as the director of technology ministries for the 8th District. She's held it for 7 years. And she's also a tech owner of a tech company in Dallas, Texas, that is both woman and veteran owned. And the next First Lady is Mrs. Felicia Johnson from the 8th Episcopal District, again under the leadership of Senior Bishop Reddick. She is currently the 7th president of the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church Minister, Spouses, Widows, and Widowers Department. She's married to Reverend Dr. Charles W. Johnson, who is a pastor assigned to the Southeast Texas region. They reside in Houston, Texas, with a blended family of 5 children, and she has served faithfully in the Minister Spouses Department for 40 years. And she was also a member of CIT at its inception of the CIT ministry. She's an IT professional with over 40 years diversity and technology. And the last First Lady comes again from the 8th Episcopal District under Senior Bishop Reddick. Miss Tanisha Hollingshed is First Lady at Morning Chapel CME Church in Fort Worth, Texas, pastored by her husband, Pastor Kenneth Hollingshed. She and Pastor Hollingshed have 2 sons. First Lady Tanisha is a cybersecurity instructor who has worked as a high school teacher in the public school systems for over 13 years. She currently teaches computer science and cybersecurity for the 4th year at Keller Center for Advanced Learning at Keller School District, where she's responsible for educating and motivating students to pursue degrees and careers in the cybersecurity industry. And there you have it.
Awesome. Let's get them all up on the screen. Wonderful. Well, good afternoon, ladies. Welcome. So glad to have you. Look at all of this power. Coupled by our own General Secretary. Boy, this is a lot of sister power. There is no way that we can have any technical difficulties this afternoon. I tell you, it may be the fact that God is sitting up smiling at these talented sisters and saying, we're going to make this thing work. But I am so delighted to meet some of you. Some of you I already know and have had the pleasure of a meeting and sharing with. But we want to get right into why we invited you. And so we have some questions that have been shared with each of you. And Dr. Duhart, I'll ask you to kind of chime in too. But how did you all get into your field? You know, give us the short story, not the book version of it. But how did you really, get into your field and decide that this is something that you want to do? and anyone can go at this time?
Actually, I started in communications and marketing with the city, moved into working in the school district, went back and got a master's in education technology with emphasis there, and started working in higher education, teaching, ensuring that I had all of the appropriate certifications, and been in the field for almost 40 years.
Wow, that's amazing. Sister Hollenshed, what about you? Tell us, how did you get into the field? And welcome.
Yes, thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you very much. Well, my story is a little different. Some of you may know that I started in accounting and finance, and I did that for several years until I decided to take a leap of faith to actually teach in the career technical education department for high schools. And of course, being in that department, I had to learn a lot about computer science and IT. So it was kind of an accident. Once I started learning and studying IT in order to teach it, I just found a strong passion for it. So I have been doing it now for about 13 years, and I am excited and always looking forward to learning even more. So I'm addicted to learning about it because I'm so fascinated about the power of technology in our country.
Wow, that's great. So you switch fields in a
did.
sense. Yeah, yeah. Reverend West,
Yes.
I see you all the time, but I don't know your backstory. And she's one of the technology gurus in the 6th Episcopal District. So tell us a little bit about how you got into the profession.
Well, it's kind of my side hustle. I've always worked in technology, but I started kind of like Dr. Duhart. I started in marketing, and so what we call image polishing. I would use my technical skills to help people back in the day when it was called desktop publishing, making business cards, websites, and things like that. And it has just simply evolved into event production, virtually, and helping people now with technology and doing all. It's a broad landscape. I do it at work and I do it with the tech team, just helping pull up virtual events and helping people in the virtual space, but also still doing image polishing and things like that with technology.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Sister Johnson, tell us a little bit about how you got into the field, please.
Dr. Mason, thank you for that question. It was by coincidence that I got into the IT field back in 1980. Yes, back in 1980. I decided that I was going to make a career move to change fields as well as make more money. So I was offered a position working for a local oil and gas company in the IT field. And it was at that time I discovered how much I love working in IT as well as working on computers, where I learned the inner makings of the computer on the outside as well as on the inside. I learned how to take computers apart, put them back together again, replace hard drives, install memory. I learned so much that helped to develop me and mold me for my career path to where I am today.
Wow, you really got into the nitty gritty. You know, I admire people who can take something apart and put it back together. That's an amazing skill and feat. Sister Dawes, tell us about your story, please.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Dr. Mason. A pleasure to be here with these very talented ladies. You know, I kind of started by accident too. I was working for an insurance company. I was kind of a tenderoni of 19, and I saw an opening for a programmer trainee program, and they didn't care what kind of degree you have or if you didn't have one or anything. They were really desperate to get more people in who knew how to code. So they offered the opportunity if you could pass this very difficult aptitude test, they called it, which they felt like if you had an aptitude for being a developer, you could pass this test because it was all about logic and it could somehow determine your thinking processes, and if you kind of had that skill set that was necessary. And I applied for it, and I've been in the fields ever since. And I went on to later on finish college and everything, but that's how I started. I started off learning to do a lot of languages that like COBOL and PO1 and assembler and all those things that we did back in the 80s, and continued on to get into the management side of it. But that was actually how I started. I took a test that said I had that skill set, and it worked.
It's okay. You were just smart. Okay. Don't get us sad. Toot your horn this afternoon. Well, Sister Jones, tell us about your foray into the field of technology and IT.
Okay, and I'm going to keep it very short because it really is a long story, but I'll give you my elevator pitch. So I was in the medical field, and in the medical field, we switched over to computers. And so no one knew what to do with these computers, but we had to start logging in all of our information and keying in. I didn't know how to type. So I sat there on that job and taught myself to type. And that got good to me. So I started learning little bit by little bit more things about computers and decided I actually had an aptitude for it. When anyone's computer would go down at work, I would actually be the one to fix it before the tech team came to the site. So I went ahead and started taking classes. It started 1 to 2 classes, and then I realized I can actually take more, handle more, and still get my job done and raise my family. So I ended up going to school full time, learning about 7 languages in, programming languages. And also I learned that I didn't love programming. So thank you very much. My memory is just not good enough to remember all the syntax. But what I did is after I was done with that is I started doing a radio show with a friend of mine and found out how many people didn't have access to computers. And I thought, aha, I can help. So I started a small business, just myself. I started making computers for people and offering them for $100 for my community. I was very specific. I wanted to target that niche audience, my people who did not have access. And the passion for doing that spilled over into my church life. I happened to basically run my bishop down and say, hey, why don't we have XYZ? And he said, aha, you do it. And I've been doing it ever since. And so I am the director of technology for the 8th Episcopal District.
Oh, I love that. I love that. In fact, we were going to ask each of you about your gifts, your skill set, and how you are applying it to the church. And we'll get to that in just a moment. Dr. Duhart sort of briefly mentioned what you're currently doing. Are all of you all still working in the field of technology? I know Reverend West said it was her side hustle, I think, quote unquote. But are you all working in the field of technology?
Yes.
That's great. That is great. So what motivates you? You know, because this is a field that is changing often. And we can certainly see the effort and work that Dr. Duhart has done with our church in bringing us up not only to the 21st century, getting us to the 20th century, then the 21st century, in the field of technology. You know, so, and it's constantly changing, you're constantly learning, but what motivates you in this area? Anybody jump in, okay?
For me, Dr. Mason, it is how technology has been evolving over the years. Like I said, for the past 40 years, I've been in IT, and I have a very diverse background on the infrastructure side, as well as on the application side, building networks, all kinds of things that I've done. Like today, believe it or not, I've kind of switched over from working with large corporations onto the smaller businesses in the program management field. I'm currently a senior project manager, And my day is so busy. I have so many projects that I'm working on, so many applications that we're rolling out in our company. Where what keeps me motivated is the passion that I have for IT. I love what I do. I love the service industry, the services that we provide. So I've been able to be constant and intentional in everything that I've done over my career path.
That's awesome. Jump in, anyone. What motivates you? What keeps you excited about this work that you're doing?
Well, I was going to say, Dr. Mason, yeah, it's my side hustle, but at work, my title is community relations. But what I spend most of my days doing is the thing that makes me passionate is connecting people to each other. So it really heightened during COVID, where we produce trainings and workshops and things like that, and we connect groups. So businesses in the community and beyond ask for certain things, and so I'm over producing those events and taking care of the technology and making sure everybody looks good. That's that image polishing, making sure everybody looks good and everybody can hear and see and going from place to place and making sure everybody's tech is good so we can connect one another. And so that keeps me passionate. It's almost like, I think about it even sometimes in the way of evangelism, right? So we have to go so people can hear us. We have to spread the gospel. And so to me, it's ministry. It's being able to open a door for people. I'm right now working with mental health, being able to connect those resources with someone else, being able to connect, being able, if somebody can't hear you on the other side or see you on the other side, making sure that those things happen. So the person that's providing that service or giving that ministry or preaching the gospel can be heard. So it makes me tick. It makes me happy when we close that thing and you say end meeting for all, or you close that thing down and it's been a success. I love it.
Wow, that's great. Come on, jump in, Sister Doll, Sister Holland, Chad, Sister Jones.
I will say, I kind of agree with that. One thing you have to be passionate about change to be in IT because it's constantly changing. The things that we did in the 80s was a long time ago, but we want to keep evolving. And it's the same thing what we have to do in our community and in our churches. And one of the things that pushed me to originally get involved with CIT was I wanted to see our church be able to keep up with the things that were going on in technology. It's part of what we do as we bring young people in, as we bring other people into our environment. If we are kind of left behind and stuck with the old, I think it puts us at such a disadvantage. And, when I do community work, when I work with young people, when I work with people who are considering other careers, I really try to encourage them that this is something you want to look at. It may sound intimidating, but it's really not. And it's something you certainly can have a passion for. And IT is so wide open. There's so many different things that you can do. Just listening to the ladies that you've heard so far, all of us seems like we do some very different things, but it's all part of the whole technology family.
Indeed, indeed.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm in another location, so hopefully this internet will hold up.
Yeah.
But what motivates me, Dr. Mason, is some of the serious concerns relating to computer science. And so a lot of what I do is lectures and studies and training around AI, computer programming, cybersecurity. And one of the first things I noticed that really just rubbed me the wrong way was the issues that are happening right now with facial recognition software developed in AI, which is artificial intelligence, where algorithms are being created mainly to recognize only white faces. So this has created some discrepancies with distinguishing between faces of brown and dark people. And so We've done a lot of studies. Studies have proven that the facial recognition system has misidentified so many African American people.
Wow.
In fact, up to 100 times more often than white people. So that was my first issue with computer science and why I get up every morning to teach this. The second issue was is the self-driving vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
There are some biases with the self-driving vehicles. Studies have proven that brown-skinned people are being hit, pedestrians are being hit because these robots, what I call them robots,
right.
they are not being programmed to detect brown skin or darker skin tones. So we have a systemic problem that needs to be addressed. So every time I get up to start my first class at 7:30 each morning, what motivates me is my opportunity to share these discrepancies, these issues, these biases, inequalities that are happening in the world of computer science and cybersecurity. And I love just working with these kids and watching them collaborate, discussing these issues, and just watching them learn, create, explore, and collaborate on a lot of these issues. And these kids nowadays, Dr. Mason, they are brilliant minded. So oftentimes I'm going in teaching Python programming and robotics, but then they're showing me some things as well. And we have noticed, even in our rooms, in our classroom, when we are programming these self-driving vehicles, we noticed that even in particular settings, when it comes to the lighting of the room, sometimes those self-driving vehicles did not recognize certain colors. So that is what motivates me every day, so that we can solve these problems.
This is mind-boggling. Great facts. Let me ask Sister Doss and Sister Jones, you know, in your profession, what was some of the best advice you received? You know, and in that same vein, are you able to share and inspire others? But what was some of the best advice you received in your field of profession?
Well, there's an acronym, and the meaning of it is keep it simple, stupid. And so I try to keep it simple. My passion is really to deal with the regular person who doesn't know anything about technology, and try to take away some of the fear in using it, and just really hand walk them through from being a non-techie to being someone who is not afraid of technology. Mm-hmm. So keeping it simple, starting off from your basics, and just get in there and do it. I'm so glad that someone actually took the time to tell me that, because it is an intimidating field. And a lot of people just say, oh no, I'm technically illiterate, which to me is not a thing. If you can read, you can do technology. So that's my passion. That's the reason I get up every morning. And that was the best advice that was given to me.
That's great. That's great. Sister Doss?
Yeah, I would say there were some similar things, but also just for some of the women that have mentored me was for me to keep in mind that I am just as smart, if not smarter, than many of the people in the room. A lot of times as African Americans in IT, we go into environments globally as well as here in the US where we are the only one that looks like us. But to not be intimidated by that, to continue to be myself, and just don't even doubt that I know what I'm talking about, and just continue to be myself and be confident in who I am. That has just really been helpful.
This is great because we saw something historic at the last General Conference. Dr. Duhart came in her position and left out a General Secretary. Were y'all there? Did you see it? Did you witness it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't think we even knew how much we needed that position and all of the resources that it provides and the wealth of knowledge and experience that she has brought to it and continues. Dr. Duhart, Tell us a little bit about, in the same frame, in terms of motivation, that we've asked these great sisters, and professional advice, and now you are guiding us in technology. I hope most of you all finished that 10,000 page survey that she submitted. I did, and I think many of you did, but it was to find out what we need, where we are, and so Dr. Duhart, tell us, just jump into this conversation, and just tell us what just motivates you about the work you do for our church, and any professional advice that you may have received as well.
Thank you. I am very passionate about technology. Being in the field for so long, and when that CIT ministry was started, it was because if we can bring that excellence in technology in corporate America, higher education, in the real world, we can bring it to the church. And so I've always had the spirit of helping others, providing support, encouraging others. And again, it was really important to see our church move forward in technology, particularly as we were moving to the 21st century. And we wanted to ensure that our church could really find that good balance in ensuring that we had all of the, I would say, the technology resources available, or at least start ensuring that our church could compete, in the market as it relates to, your religious denominations, and ensuring that they had all of the appropriate technology. What motivated me, or the best advice that I received, it actually came from two chief technology officers. We were sisters sitting in a major conference, EDUCAUSE, which is the premier computing organization or association for anyone in technology and education. And they pulled me aside and said that, you're the youngest sister here, and make sure wherever you're going as a chief technology officer, you're sitting at that table, and make sure you have your ducks in a row, know exactly what needs to be done, be a lifelong learner, and always make sure that you are ready at any time, because you're going to be challenged anytime because of who we are, our skin color, and and working in higher education or corporate America. You're sitting at the table with the big boys, and you're going to be a big girl, and you're going to do your job. That was the motivation that I received from them, and to always ensure that you're ready at any given time. You are ready, and ensure that you help someone else along the way. Reach back and help someone else, because someone else helped you get to this position. So those were my.
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
I was just saying that was just my, great words of wisdom, encouragement from my sisters.
Well, your passion pours out. It just pours out in everything you do. Now, let me tell my second group of panelists, give us about 10 minutes or so before you link in. We got a couple more wonderful questions that we want to ask. So if you can't get in, hang tight. We'll let you in just a moment. So quickly, one solid piece of advice you would give one young CME sister watching now who is thinking about going into technology. And I'll start with you, Sister Holland Shedd, and then we'll work our way around.
Yes, sir. I agree with all of the women. They are so powerful, and I am so thankful to be on this platform with each and every one of you. But I would say there's so much I could say about the field of IT because it's so broad, but truly open up your heart and mind about computer science. And that's kind of my area of specialty. Don't be afraid or intimidated, as one of the other sisters mentioned, because it can be lonely in this world where there's not many people who look like us, meaning female and minority. And so just be strong, know your gifts, your talents, pursue it, and always have God at the center of your life. That is my advice to our sisters who are thinking about this career.
Awesome. Awesome advice. Reverend West.
Yes. I would say one of the things in technology and in this field is to remember the soft skills. Sometimes we can get behind the computer and we can get buckled down and forget people, right? Is remembering that there's a human on the other side of that screen. There's humans that you have to work with. And as much as we learn and take in all of the things, we have to remember that we still have to work with humans and human capital. And just remembering as we do this work, to not be, as we are working technically, to not be as technical, because there are people involved and engaged. We want to make the tent larger and bring people in. And like one of the sisters said earlier, we want them to even understand what we're saying, right? So it's very important to remember the soft skills and the personal touch, and taking care of people while we're doing this technical work.
Sister Johnson, and let me say, by the way, most of your members are watching because they're all posting. They love their First Lady, obviously. I just want you to know that. But one piece of advice, Sister Johnson, that you would give to a young sister watching who's thinking about going into IT?
I think the best piece of advice that I could give to any woman that wants to take on this field is to believe in yourself, have faith and confidence in yourself, because this is a male-dominated field. And especially when I started off in 1980, it definitely was a male-dominated field. But over the years, the gap is starting to close in, and we're starting to see more and more women in this field. So if it is your passion, and it must be a passion, because when it gets hard, you're going to want to drop out. But it has been my passion. So I've stayed with it all these years. And I never forget what my husband and my mother told me many years ago when opportunities were coming my way. And I doubted myself because I did not have the collegiate education that I needed to move forward, or the certifications that I needed to move forward. So I had to pursue that, and I was scared, but I overcame it. God was with me the whole time. So, I encourage anybody that wants to get into this diverse field, because like one of the sisters said, there's so many opportunities out there, and you can tell by all of the panelists that are on right now. We all have a very diverse background, but we love IT.
Yeah, that's obviously that you do. Sister Dawes, piece of advice you would give a young sister? All right, Sister Jones, same question to you.
Okay.
I would say, one of the things that people recognize, we talk about women in IT, only 25% or approximately 25% of IT professionals are female. Only 3 to 5% are African American. It's a very, very small community. But I try whenever I can to work with young people, to introduce them to the field, to help them understand, I try to make it relatable to how whatever it is they say they like, I let them know there's an IT component. Because if you go in and you speak to a group of people and then all of them say, oh, I want to be a fashion designer, then I try to explain to them that, okay, well, you want to be a fashion designer, but what I bet you don't know how much IT is involved in being a really good fashion designer, how much you need technology to understand that. So I try to remind them that whatever they want to do, there's some technology behind it, and to consider that as an option for their role in whatever thing they're thinking about doing or becoming. Understand the technology piece. Don't just get caught up in just your cell phone. If you're that caught up in your cell phone, then maybe you need to learn how to write some apps or do some other things like that. I just really try to encourage young people to understand that this is something that they don't just have to be consumers of, that they can also be part of creating.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
And
Sister Jones?
I would say that, first of all, think about why it is you want to be in the technology field. Some people realize that there is a lot of money to be made in the field, and they want to pursue the coin. And I am not mad at them for that. But a lot of other people, they want to know for self-knowledge. And in that case, I would say you don't have to go to a brick and mortar school. There is training online. YouTube has a wealth of information. You'd be surprised how many certifications you can get right in the comfort of your own home. For me, it is ministry. I simply want to help my people. And since I spend most of my time in church, those are the people who I mainly focus on helping. So when you have a passion to help people, you just take whatever you have to offer and give it to them. And that's where it is for me. And I would encourage other persons who feel that way to definitely reach out. I am Googleable. I am TJ the Computer Lady. So just Google that, give me a call, and hey, I'll help you along the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So my last question to you all, and thank you, Sister Jones, because I think I'm sensing for all of you, it is also part of your ministry, your personal ministry, the passion that you're doing. So many of you have been using your gifts and skills in the church, perhaps in your husband's church, if he's the pastor, assisting and helping him and the IT team. But how could the church better utilize your gifts? And what would you like to see? So this would be your final statement, so I said about a minute. I'll give you a minute and 10 seconds, add on 10 seconds. Just kind of give your closing thoughts. And I wish we had more time, but this is sort of whetting the appetite. And it's just good to see that we have so many. But, how can we better help and assist Dr. Duhart and the CIT team? But you have just gifts that you're using. Maybe you're already using them, but just kind of close up and wrap up in your final thought as it relates to that. And what we'll do, we'll start with you, Sister Jones, Sister Dawson, Sister Johnson, then Sister West, Sister Hollenshed, and Dr. Duhart. Okay?
My final statement.
Yes.
Is, please try to advocate to put technology in your budget. Don't let it be an afterthought. Put it in your budget. Have technology at your meetings when you're meeting, because there are things that they can add to the conversation that will make a world of difference. Thank you.
Wow, that's an amazing thought. Thank you. I appreciate that myself. But I would say as much as I like to work with young people, and I would say more on the corporate side when I'm working, helping people, I help young people. But in my church, an important ministry is working with our seniors. A lot of times just don't forget about them. Think about your sick and shut in and your seniors that need help. There's ways to help them, give them exposure to the technology that they need so that they can continue to be an integral part of worship and part of ministry. Sometimes they feel really intimidated. And when I say seniors, I'm including my age as well. There's a lot of people that feel very intimidated. So let's just, help one another, encourage one another. Don't laugh and make fun. Just really try to reach out so that everyone can stay connected in this world, because we're not going to go backwards with technology. It's going to continue to move faster and faster. And let's just reach out, keep each other connected.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for mentioning seniors, because as you all know, we really had to scramble and work to make sure that our seniors were connected during the pandemic, and that they could worship as well. Sister Johnson.
So, Dr. Mason, what I've been doing over the past 40 years, being in the ministry with my husband, is utilizing my computer skill set to help him in the ministry, as well as on the district level, on the national level, especially with the Minister Spouses organization, as I'm heading it up. I've been trying to utilize technology more in getting the word out, what the minister spouses are all about. And the way that I've been doing that, first of all, is to get the minister spouses onto the CMEchurch.org website. We now have a page there where you can learn about us and what we're doing. The other thing that we're doing is using a Facebook page to get the word out about the various programs and events that are going on across the connection. I have established a committee that is primarily responsible for promoting our ministry and what we're doing.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Sister Johnson. Reverend West.
Yes. Thank you for this platform and the conversation. I'm very excited for you to flip to the next panel, because there's a couple of our 6th Episcopal District tech team members on that, and they are awesome. I will say, for me, it's about teamwork and working as a body. We've already stated and seen how diverse technology can be. And so what we did as the 6th District, under the direction of Reverend Pansy Washington, we took everybody's gift and made a cohesive team. And so if I didn't know and someone else knew, we worked together collaboratively, and it made us all better. And we used those gifts to assist the Episcopal District. Everybody has our cell phone numbers. Everybody has our email addresses, but if there's an issue, they know they can call the tech team to get into a Zoom, to work on their computer, to help them. We have some tech team members that have just gone to somebody's house and helped someone just get on. And so it's bringing us all up to speed together. We all rise together. And I would just say it is a great it's a great family and friendship and fellowship, but it's also a great model of how we can rise. Dr. Duhart has been instrumental in helping us as well, as how we can all, as a connection, rise together if we connect across Episcopal districts. If I see something that somebody else is doing well, during COVID, we saw something that was amazing, and we just reached out to that person and said, how did you do that? So just not being intimidated by people and just connecting so we can all be great.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Sister Holland Shedd.
Yes, again, thank you, Dr. Mason and Dr. Duhart, for this opportunity to talk about IT. I've been blessed to speak and train on cybersecurity and digital media in our local church, Morning Chapel CME Church in Fort Worth, Texas, as well as our Fort Worth district and the 8th Episcopal District. And one of my goals whenever I present on this topic is to get more young people involved, more young ladies involved. So I'm hoping and praying that we can continue sessions like this. But I do want to share this one last thing. One of my big goals is to get our young people involved in computer science and cybersecurity. And so every summer we have a cybersecurity summer camp, free. They even serve food at the University of North Texas in Denton, Texas. So if you are in the area and you're able to get your they can be in the 6th grade up through the 11th grade, please contact me and let's get our kids in this program so that they can really get a good understanding and be able to see what's happening in our world and how it is impacting us. Positive ways and in the negative. So again, thank you. And I look forward to sharing with you again.
Well, thank you. Thank you, ladies. And since Dr. Duhart is going to be with us in the second session, because she has to introduce the next slate of guests, she'll get to have the final last word of the whole session, and just kind of, bring everything in full circle about the church and what we're doing. Sister Hollenshed, Reverend West, Sister Johnson, Sister Dawson, Sister Jones, thank you so much for sharing with us on this Sunday afternoon. Continued blessings to each of you and your ministry. And the CME Church is better because of the ladies that are on this panel this afternoon that I have the pleasure of sharing with. God bless you all. And we will give your husbands and fellow pastors my regards. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to, thank you. We're going to make a little quick transition, and then we're going to bring up our next set of guests that I'm looking forward to sharing with, but take a look at this.
And last week we spoke about, the percentage of how many women of color, primarily Black women, that are in technology, which it is a very low amount. We only make about 2 to 3% out of 25% of women. And I mean, that data is just crazy. So we need to do a better job. We need to get our girls, we just need to get our people, into more of technology, especially AI.
Just like that, we are back and excited and ready to continue this conversation. Dr. Duhart, would you present our next set of panelists, please?
A panelist is Pastor Dr. Amanda Goodson. She hails from the 9th Episcopal District under the leadership of Bishop Charlie Haynes, Jr. Dr. Goodson resides in Tucson, Arizona, where God has entrusted her to be a pastor of Trinity Temple CME Church. She is the 9th District's coordinator for the concerns of women in ministry. Fascinating career in aerospace. She is an aerospace engineer. She started and progressed and became the first female senior executive in safety and mission assurance for propulsion systems. She also served as the first African American woman appointed director of safety and mission assurance with over 35 successful launches under her leadership. She is currently the senior director in a Fortune 200 company, and she's also the published author of over 25 books and workbooks. Dr. Amanda Goodson. Ms. Jasmine Baxter is from Washington, D.C. in the 7th Episcopal District under the leadership of Bishop James B. Walker. Jasmine grew up in the Miles Memorial CME Church in Washington, D.C., and currently serves at the Christ CME Church in Waterbury, Connecticut, pastored by Reverend Shanita Thompson. After graduating from Lincoln University, Jasmine moved to Baltimore, became part of the digital media department for Baltimore Center Stage, and after receiving a job offer from ESPN in 2018, in April of that year, she became the lead producer and editor for Sports Center, combining two things that she loved, the art of storytelling and sports. As a producer, Ms. Jasmine Baxter won an Emmy in 2021 for Outstanding Studio Show Daily Sports Center. Ms. Megan Flowers hails from the 6th Episcopal District under the leadership of Bishop Thomas L. Brown Sr. She is currently serving at St. Paul CME Church in Sparta, Georgia, where her mother is Pastor Reverend Carlotta Ficklin. Ms. Megan is a native of Augusta, Georgia, a graduate of Middle Georgia State University, and received her Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. She also earned her Master of Science degree in IT from Middle Georgia State University. She's worked in the IT field for over 5 years, and she's currently the system administrator for Macon-Bibb County government. And our last panelist is Ms. Theresa Duhart. She's a member of Westside Community CME Church, where she helps with the AV ministry. She is also the AV director for Butler Street CME Church. Catrice is a graduate of Louisiana Tech University, where she has a Master's of Art in Industrial Organizational Psychology. She also has a Master of Arts in Teaching. She also has she's currently studying for a Master of Arts in Organizational Development. She currently works for a Fortune 500 company as a go-to-market strategist. And she also is a marketing manager for a new music group called The City. Dr. Mason, wonderful ladies. You're muted.
There we go. Let me unmute Sister Hart. Okay, unmute yourself. Welcome, ladies. It is such a delight to have you here. First of all, I mean, Sister Bassett, that's a real Emmy you holding on that picture. Good grief. I tell you the truth. And Reverend Goodson, I think I've had you on my show before, so it's good to see you, Reverend Dr. Goodson, excuse me. And Megan, I know you.
Yes, sir.
I asked your mama and daddy about you yesterday, and I cannot believe you are all grown and graduated and doing all these great things. So, Dr. Duhart, you've hit a second home run, if that's possible, with this set of panelists. We are just delighted to have you here to share with us a little bit about your journey and your path to IT and this field of technology. Dr. Duhart has given a little bit of your backstory. But I would ask each of you to give us just a brief version, about a minute or so, of, how you decided to go into the field, that you're in, what inspired you, what moved you to go into the IT. And we're going to begin with you, Sister Jasmine.
I think I've always wanted to be in the art of storytelling when I was a little kid. So the fact of being like my goal is to be a movie director. So to go from there, I've done a lot of, I guess, like camera work or writing. I did a lot of writing. And then at Lincoln, I did a lot of playwriting, as well as still getting my degree in mass communications. After that, I did a lot of freelance. I worked with some amazing people, some friends, as far as like I would do like music videos to feed my creativity. And then I went over to work with the Washington Wizards and the Mystics for the summer as part of their digital team as a producer. And then from there, I did move to Baltimore Center Stage, and I became their digital media, the head of it. And that was just like a great avenue that opened up my creativity so much. And from there, I got ESPN. So, I think I was always going to be somewhere in the entertainment or communications field.
Wow. And ESPN, that's no small change there. That's huge. And I didn't even know we had one of our own working there and doing such great work. And of course, digital media, and maybe a little later on, that is a very important field, because we're living in a digital age and everything is on our phone, within our phone, and so maybe you'll talk a little bit about that as well. Dr. Goodson, tell us a little bit, good to see you again. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the IT field, please, and technology.
As you heard, and also spent some time in the information technology space. So how I got there is I remember growing up, I loved math and I loved science and I loved working numbers and that kind of thing. And my dad said, baby, he says, the way you like to live, you probably need to have a degree where you can use your skills and make more money. So I started looking at what could I do. And so that's how I got into engineering. And like I said, from there, I also worked in technology. I worked in IT for a while, doing governance, risk, and compliance. So that's how I got it. Researched and did it.
So you mentioned engineering. So you have an engineering background.
Yes.
As well. Yeah. Wow, that's great. That is great. Sister Harp, tell us a little bit about, I've known Sister Harp since she was a little girl, maybe a baby. She grew up in Westside CME Church as well, my home church. So it's good to see you. Tell us how you got into the field also, okay?
Yes, so the field kind of came to me. I've always been surrounded by technology. My dad always fixed computers. He was always working on computers. My mom was always coming up with different things, different forms and items to use on the computer. So just watching that as I was younger and the older that I would get, it was always around me. From even in my generation, the transition from talking on the phone to Yahoo Messenger, and then MySpace. At the time, you had to use codes to post, and then transition into Facebook, which was studying groups more, which transitioned to something else, and now Meta. So it's always been a part of my life. And even if I tried to run from it, I don't think that it's something I could have ran from, because I love communication. So I love communicating with people, and technology in the year and era that we are in is one of those major sources and items that you really need to know in order to reach out to people and communicate with people. You really have to leverage technology. So I do a little dibble daddle of everything. Sometimes I do websites, sometimes social media, sometimes video editing, sometimes live broadcasts. But I transitioned from music, which is another way to communicate to people, to me, is music. And I just really honed in on media. So it was something that just kind of came more so to me than me saying, hey, I really want to do technology. But ever since I've been in it, just the core of it, I really love it. I love how it sparks my mind to think. And so I can have innovative ideas and different ways to reach others using technology. Is always something new.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you so much. Sister Megan, tell us about, and you're a newly minted graduate. I think you just finished your master's degree as well. So talk about your journey. Hold on just a second, Megan. Okay.
Okay, thank you again for this opportunity. For me, it started very young. I remember when my grandmother first got a computer at her house. On Sundays, I would spend the whole day on the computer playing Sims and all these little computer games. And so what happened is from there, it just transformed my life. So I will always be on the computer. So I would either do break it to put it back together. I was just always intrigued with the design of how this one component was the backbone to a lot of organizations and how they ran. So in high school, I took a tech course. And when I was in that tech course lane or coursework rather, being in a class and being the only girl majority of the time, and then the only minority woman in the class, and then just being surrounded by all the guys, it really just propelled me even more. And watching a lot of TV shows and how they depict technology and how cyber works is another reason why I wanted to get into the field, because it's definitely not like how they put it on TV. And actually my study, what I really honed in college was cyber security and forensics. What I really wanted to do was to be able to help solve crimes using technology. So that's what I specialize in. However, I do more of the system administrator, the infrastructure side. So just like Catrice said, it started from just the basic love of computers, just dealing with MySpace, the back end, like she said, that's HTML coding, starting there, and then just in love with all aspects of technology now. So cyber, the graphic design, web, coding, just every part of IT, I just love it.
Wow. Dr. Duhart, now when you were in college, just a few years ago, maybe, tell us about technology and what were you doing? Were you knee deep into it? Had it become an interest? And what was it like? And what's been different? You know, I know technology changes, but what have you noticed over the years?
Well, actually in college, I started in pre-med. I wanted to be a cardiologist.
So hold on, I want you to see the shock on my face. That's why
I was going to be a cardiologist.
Really? Will we learn something new, folks?
Second year in college, I fell in love and got married, and yeah, I abandoned the medical field. I actually majored in sociology, almost a double major with psychology. Psychology. And then eventually I moved into marketing and communications. But I really had to, back in the day, let's just say that. I've seen technology changed. When I first got out of college, I was working with St. Anthony Messenger, which is the premier communications publications, resources for the Roman Catholic Church. Okay. And I was helping the priests there with editorial work. And we were working on the old CRTs, and it has changed tremendously. By the time that I got into communications and marketing, we were on the Mac, very first generation. And it has changed.
You know you're aging yourself right now. You do know that. Okay?
It's okay. It's all good, because we know many of us came up even if you were teaching or working in education, you always had those old apples, right? So technology has completely changed over the years. We saw that shift, after many various reiterations of platforms that were being used for programming. We moved into a digital age, and now the sky really is the limit.
Yeah.
With technology, and there's so many different areas in technology, so many different areas. And working in higher education, I've seen all the fields. Whether it's computer science, it could be forensic, it could be cybersecurity. There are just so many opportunities in technology, and it's really great when you see young women, get involved, like I see here, and with technology. And the pay has truly increased from the time I got in to this day now, where you have young persons coming in who are easily making $100,000 a year, and some may not even have a 4-year degree. They may have a 2-year degree, and some may have the experience of working in IT for maybe a few years, but it is the industry that's driving all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So technology has changed quite a bit over the years. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow, that's learn something new about you, which I'm glad to hear, Dr. Duhart. So, what motivates you all, Dr. Goodson, Sister Harp, Sister Flowers, Sister Megan? What motivates you each day? What gets you excited? Hype? Do you have to drag yourself up to go to work because you're going to be dealing with some stuff? Or are you excited? Dr. Goodson, what motivates you?
So, what motivates me is seeing the people that support me and that I support on the edge of their seats and us doing great things. One structure, I work in intelligence and space right now. And one system we work on is a GPS system. Everybody uses it every day.
Yeah.
And then there are other systems that also do things so outside of the Earth's atmosphere and work outside of the Earth's atmosphere. And I enjoy it because, I mean, you know, it allows me to think about God. It connects me to God in a different way and allow me to see how God has allowed us to learn about him through technology, through engineering, and through the things that we're doing. You know, a GPS, the global positioning system, and I get a chance, the people that work, I have people that work for me, a person that works for me that works on that every day. And to know that that's part of what God made for us to learn about him and to grow closer to him. So that motivates me every day.
That's amazing. I'm just stunned, just absolutely stunned. And you'll have to slip in and tell us a little bit more about what you do specifically. Sister Hart, what motivates you?
For me, I have a dual motivation. I'll say intrinsically, I'm motivated by problem solving. I like to solve problems. I guess that's the strategist in me. If there is a problem, I like to solve it, and I get excitement from solving it and seeing the answer. Externally, I would say that I'm motivated by how the results impact the people. So hopefully that the results impact the people in a positive manner and that they have a wonderful experience based on my motivation to solve problems. So it's a dual motivation for me. It's solving problems and helping people after the problem is solved.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Sister Megan?
Yeah, I agree.
Same question. Yeah.
I agree 100% with Catrice. It's problem solving for me. Number one is that I always tell people IT, anything in technology is logic, right? So it has to make sense. So to get to point A, to get to point A, you have to get to point B, you have to get to point C. So you have to follow the equation all the way through. So it's problem solving. I get a rise out of doing that. And then also helping people. So you still have so many people that don't understand technology. So to be able to break things down to them in real world experiences. And then in the capacity that I work in with government, I feel the whole entire community. So I'm helping 911, I'm helping sheriff's department, fire department, all the way down to finance and HR. So we are the backbone, we're the infrastructure. And then during the COVID crisis and going through that, the pandemic, and just realizing that IT is first responders. Without IT, hospitals, doctors' offices, none of those organizations or places can run. So
true.
We are the backbone to how the world works now.
That is so true. So true. Sister Jasmine, tell us what motivates you to get up to go to ESPN every day.
The art of storytelling for me is major for me. And to like just show you from beginning to end a story. I love that, and show you certain things. Like if we want to show the progress of LeBron's injury, you have to show where it started. You have to do some digging for it because you may not see it in the original taping, but you go back and you just tell that art of how many months, if he's doing practice, if he's doing rehab, you get to show that. You get if you have a chance to talk to him about it or talk to somebody in the organization about it, that's really major. And also for me, it's just the fact that, I pray to be where I am right now. So, that's major for me. Just I prayed for it. So I'm going to definitely just do what I can, get up every day. I'll talk to God and I'll just go do my job and do a little bit and add a little bit of me into everything I've done.
Wow. That's great. I prayed for where I am today. That's good. Dr. Goodson, you're not only one of NASA's first African-American female senior executives. That's NASA, y'all. NASA, who sends things up in space. One of the first African-Americans. I mean, just an absolute impressive resume. Alabama native. I first learned about you through Bishop Jefferson Snorton. You're also a pastor, a preacher of the gospel as well. So talk a little bit, if you will, about how your professional background has helped you in your ministry, and particularly in the area of technology? Just tell us a little bit about that, please.
So that's funny. Thank you for asking that question. And I thought you were going to go into the conversation of balance, and I don't operate in balance. I operate in harmony. We can talk about that another time. But when I was going to NASA every day, it was like I was young, and I was like, I don't think God does space shuttles. And so I was like, I'm gonna go over here and do these space shuttles. These, we heard about the problem solvers on the line, and then we were strategic problem solvers because you have hundreds of thousands of people working on hundreds and hundreds of thousands of parts of tightly coupled systems working together to make it work. And so, when I think about that and how that works, being the first African American woman on the space transportation propulsion systems, it was just like amazing. And I want to make sure that I get to answering your question, but it's like a lot of fun. And so tell me again what the answer to the question was. I missed the question because I started getting excited.
Listen, that's okay. I was just I was so intrigued with your bio and your engineering background, your technology background, and you're a pastor. As well. Yeah,
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got
All
it.
right.
So I would say, leave Jesus on the curb. I'd go in here thinking that I was doing something on my own strength. And so I tried to keep them separate, ministry. And back then I wasn't a pastor when I was going and sitting on console for space shuttle launches and that kind of thing. But I was always in ministry. I got my doctorate degree in ministry while I was doing that. And so, I tried to keep them separate. And I had one lady to tell me, you cannot separate them. They're all together. And then once I put it together, it's like putting pieces of a puzzle together, and then it unfolds itself and makes a beautiful outcome and a beautiful picture. So what I learned about leadership and what I think about, like working on GPSs and working on other space hardware and other hardware, and working on space shuttles and other intelligence in space, let me say that, then all of that comes in and fuels me. I learn about leadership and I apply my leadership presence, executive presence, in the workplace. And I take that and it helps me to minister better. And the things that I learn in ministry, we're now in the next level and next dimension, next level 9. And I apply those things that I learn in the church at work. So it helps to fuel me. It helps me to speak to people in a different way. And it keeps me calm, and it keeps me focused on the things that I need to be focused on and to be a better leader, because I know God sent me there. And the one thing, and I'm going to say this last thing, because I resolved in myself, I'm there because God sent me, God called me, God will keep me, and the gift made room for me. So I'm undeniable. So I may be the youngest. I was 35, where the average folk was 55 and 60. And when I got that job, and so I had to be okay with me, and I had to be okay with the only one. I had to be okay even if I'm in a room with people that are more. But God made me all right. I put them together. It's like pieces of a puzzle, and God caused the explosion, should I say, and He caused it to just go to totally different places that I never thought I could go.
Well, if y'all didn't go to church this morning, you got your sermon. Okay, you just got your sermon there. Undeniable. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Dr. Duhart, you now that you've been General Secretary almost a year, well, I'm gonna ask it anyway. Is the passion still there? Are you still excited about the work? Are you overwhelmed right now? But you got all of these wonderful sisters waiting to assist you. But what motivates you?
I am still motivated. The fact that I can work for my church, and I can provide direction in communication and technology is awesome. I am very passionate about technology, and the fact that I work in it every day and I can translate a lot of the skills and the ideas to the church is awesome. I'm overwhelmed. Yes. I'm a workaholic. Yes.
Yeah.
But, you know, God has ordered my steps. I have balance. I try to find balance. And I want to ensure that the message of Jesus Christ is amplified using technology. So, you know, there's lots of projects, tasks that we're dealing with right now, you know, trying to roll out to help the local church. That is primarily our goal, is not just to help from the top on down, but to ensure that our churches can have the resources, the equipment, and they can function well with the use of technology. So, you know, we have many things again rolling out, like website designs. It could very well be online training. We're still trying to ensure that we have all the pieces in place, but you'll hear about it very soon, like within the next week or two. But yes, it's been a joy working for the church these last 9 months. It has definitely been a joy. It keeps you on your toes, keeps you praying as well. But my motivation is working for God's kingdom and ensuring that we have the appropriate communication and information technology tools to do our jobs.
That's awesome. Question to you all. What's the best professional advice someone has given you? Just jump in. Anybody can respond. And unmute yourself, or if I muted you, let me unmute you. Okay.
So I'm going to say this, and this came over time. It wasn't just one thing. You know, God made me great. He made me a priest and a king unto him. And I'm purposed to be great. And he made me for such a time as this. And the reason why he made me so that I can influence in different spheres and different realms as his legislative officer and his ambassador. So with that, God is not performance driven. He wants my faith. He wants my obedience. And he wants me to be in the flow of the anointing. Where the anointed is and where God is, there is liberty. And so that's the advice that I have. Gift makes room for you, and you get in line where the Holy Spirit is and where the anointing is flowing, and there is no stopping you.
I tell you, Dr. Goodson, I can't keep up with the amens in the comments section, but know that they are flowing and coming, and you are blessing so many of us today. My sisters, what any of you receive any professional advice? Megan?
Yeah, I was told that you're under assignment by God when you're placed at a job. So you're not working for men. That's what my mom tells me every day when I'm stressed out and I call, that you're not placed there by man. That's an assignment from God. So when you feel you're more stressed, or, you know, you doubting yourself that you shouldn't be in position, that you're not working for men. So stay motivated and work for him, and then everything will come. So when you run into issues at work, when you can't figure it out, that's the first person you should go to. That's
solid. That is solid. What about you, Sister Jasmine? Any professional advice anybody gave you?
Yeah, it was, I remember my friend Hannah Hayes, who, it was for Baltimore Center Stage. And she just told me, because I was nervous going to ESPN, because I was like, that's a big company. And I was like, I don't know. So I was starting to doubt myself. And I remember, you know, she just said, you know, show them who you are. And that could be as far as showing how you tell your story, how you do your storytelling, how you work, your work ethic, you know, because you may work totally different. And, you know, the way you approach things may be different. So show them who you are. And that just spoke to me so much, because like in the industry of like communications with like journalism or entertainment, it could be a rough road, because it's not easy. So your confidence level may be a little bit down. So I just needed to pick me up, and that was just what I needed to hear that day. That was the best thing. So I mean, you know, just be who you are.
Thank God for that. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Sister Hart?
Yeah, I would say, you know, it kind of echoes what everyone said. Some of the best advice that I was given, because I tend to be a little on the too humble side with what I do, but to show up and be present. That what God has for you is for you, and that He put you in place at this time for the moment that He wanted you to be in. And that's okay. And if it makes other people uncomfortable, then that's the other person and not you. But to still show up, because as women in this field, it is sometimes difficult because people do second guess your experience. They second guess your knowledge. They second guess your ability. And then also in the field that I'm in at work is go to market, which is fairly new across the industry. In that field is also a second guess as a woman. It's not many women in the go-to-market industry. So it's like, do you really know or do you not know? So it's always amplifying your voice, always showing up, having confidence, and knowing that you wouldn't be here if it weren't, by the divine of God to say, this is where you're supposed to be. This is the gift that I've given you. So show up and show that you are blessed and this is where you're supposed to be.
Wow, this exceptional advice. So my next question to you is to talk just a little bit briefly about the work that you're doing with the church, the CME church, okay? And so anybody can jump in. Dr. Duhart is going to kind of close us out shortly and just kind of sum up, where we are and the need to even have such a panel, which has just been exceptional. I think Senior Bishop Redditt said it best, that these are some amazing and significant voices and thoughts. And I'm so glad, Dr. Duhart, that you conceived this. I take no credit at all, but I'm happy to host and to share in the interview because we might not have known. We know we got smart sisters at our church, but we didn't know to this extent and to this level. But talk about how you're using your gifts in the church right now. Just going to give us the minute version of that, and then we'll get ready to wrap up. Dr. Goodson, I'll start with you.
So I'm the 9th Episcopal leader for the COEM, Commission on Women in Ministry, the Concerns of Women in Ministry. And so every year our church does a women's conference. And so to partner across the 9th and to partner within our church, allowing the leadership for women and also bringing that strength to the room in technology and other areas as well is really helpful. And then also with our kids, encouraging them to explore who God made them to be, their purpose to be great. And when God blew breath into them, He blew in everything they needed from A to Z to be who He called them to be. So that's what I love doing in the church.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Sister Hart.
For me, currently in the church, I work with the AV ministry at Westside, and then for Butler, I am the AV director, which I partner with your church, Mason. And I also help other funeral homes bring the broadcast to life and work on CRMs and marketing through email, because that's a tool that we forget. And I know that sometimes it's rough and it's hard for some of our older members to catch on and say, hey, I want to embrace this technology. But once you embrace it, it's going to be so helpful in how it can evolve the congregation and how it can evolve our ministry, how it can evolve worship. If we take advantage of these tools that have been put in place, whether it be communicating through email, not the old-fashioned way, but marketing in a way that you can really target your congregation and your members of the church so that they are excited and they understand what's going on and how God can be in their life without being in the church. They can be at home, especially our sick and shut in. They can be at home and you can still minister through using those tools. So it's very huge. And what I've been doing is just trying to be that voice to amplify the innovation that can be embraced with technology.
Awesome. Thank you. Sister Megan.
Yeah, again, I'm glad I was able to incorporate tech at our church. We're a smaller church in Sparta, so we don't really have a lot of access to, internet and Wi-Fi. So I was able to kind of just work on the AV there. So at the local church, I do AV graphic design. So I try to produce all of our flyers and graphics that will go out on social media and that we distribute to other churches. I also work on the 6th District tech team with Reverend Pansy Washington and Reverend West. So I assist on Zooms, letting people in and out of Zooms. And I also do graphic design for the 6th District in any capacity that they need me to create flyers.
This is great. I mean, this is what we need, skills, graphic designs. I mean, a flyer, just enhances a worship service or a particular program. That's such a wonderful skill to have. Sister Jasmine, how are you working with your particular church or particular district?
Yeah, I CME. I helped out for the missionary march when I think it was 2020 or 2021. I did that, and that was interesting, but I had fun doing it, just trying to be creative in that way, getting the right music, getting the right background, adding everybody into it, make sure that we had the right church. I liked it, of course. It was fun to me, but I think right now I just got back to Connecticut, and I know that Reverend Thompson has a long list for me, so I can't wait to start back up and into the church with her.
Wow. So before I bring Dr. Duhart to bring any closing remarks, give you an opportunity, if you forgot to say something, you want to make one last comment or statement before I turn it over and ask Dr. Duhart to kind of close us out for this afternoon. Any final thoughts or words from any of you? And I'm so appreciative, and obviously the church is as well, for not only this panel, but the previous panel as well, for taking time to share with us and letting us know a little bit about what you do, what motivates you, and how you continue to serve the church. Any closing thoughts, anybody?
Yes, I have.
By all means.
I just want to say thank you all again for the opportunity and recognizing me. I don't take this for granted. But also I would like to say is don't leave IT out of the church. Don't leave technology out of the church. It can really drive the ministry forward. Technology is not going anywhere. It's here to stay, and it can only just revolutionize the service, revolutionize the congregation, and just set aside a budget for IT and create space. I think about, all the different ministries I was a part of as a kid, tried to do usher, tried to be in the choir. That's not my gift. And so I created a lane at my church where I can still serve. And I don't feel forced or obligated. It's something I choose to do. It's a passion for me. And so I'm able to reel the younger kids in because they're always inquisitive. What are you doing back there? Or, and it just makes the service go smoother, because a lot of times they're like, well, we can just have such and such go up and say something. And I'm like, well, what about if I get them to get on the Zoom or something and I record them? People feel more comfortable in their space. And then they don't have to have those Sunday morning jitters to stand in front of crowds of people and talk. So just remember that IT has a space everywhere, and just create a little corner for it. Start small with your budget and then build upon that.
I love it. You created your own lane. That's powerful. That is powerful. Thank you. And we were on a panel together a few years ago, if I recall, with Bishop Brown. You remember when we first got into the pandemic, trying to figure this thing out, and he had you on that panel as well. Anybody else, any closing thoughts before we?
Yeah,
yes, go right ahead.
Yes, I would say for everyone, I know that sometimes technology seems a little scary and we're apprehensive of it, but embrace it. As you're going through that self-checkout line and you're scanning your own items, that's a win. When you pick up your phone and you text someone, that's a win. So never tell yourself, I don't understand this, I can't do it. Just continue to embrace it and learn it, because it's not going anywhere. So what we can do now is just start to utilize it to its full capacity, even bringing in, as Megan said, bringing in the younger kids as a way for them to have another outlet within the church, in a way for retention of the younger kids, because technology is exciting for them and huge for them to learn, because by the time they get older, who knows what technology is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't implement these tools now within the church, it's like they say, with the change, the wheel of change, you either can roll with it or you'll be underneath it. And we don't want to be underneath it. We want to keep rolling.
That's
so
right.
That's my last remark.
I love it. I love it. Yes, Dr. Goodson.
One thing, so when we're thinking about the hard work that it takes, or the focus work, what I'd like to say is, what is a few years of focus work, or some people may get a certificate, a few months of focus work compared to a lifetime of reward? Once you get that knowledge, once you start learning and get in the flow and start growing your capability and understanding of technology, that is a lifetime. It will give you a lifetime of reward. No one can ever take it away. They can take away furniture, they can take away other things, but they cannot take away that knowledge and that understanding that you have. So few years of focus work, lifetime of reward.
Amen.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing. So when I start talking, I just keep talking, but I'm gonna hush. Like Dr. Goodson said, focus work, knowing also that technology should have patience. Everything is not going to be a microwave. Sometimes people feel like, especially as technologists, as we are working on things, hey, get this done. Can you do this? Can you do that? Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. But having patience and knowing that it will get resolved, it will get done. It's just going to take a journey sometimes a little bit of focus time, and sometimes just a little bit of time to get the things right. Because when we work with computers, you never know what's going to happen. And that's where that loving how to problem solve comes in. But just have patience with technology. Technology is not a microwave. And as you continue to implement it in your ministries or implement it in your life, that it takes a time to learn, and that's okay. Don't get discouraged.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Listen, this has been incredible. Let me share this as I introduce or present or bring closing remarks. Dr. Duhart, the pandemic hit us around March, and I think around April or May, I wanted to do something. I wanted to interview Bishop Laity. That's all I wanted to do. I had no concept of having a Sunday show in mind, but I wanted to interview Bishop Laity and talk about the history of the church, because I love history. I'm a historian, and I thought this would be a great conversation. So I reached out to Dr. Duhart to see if she could share it with the church. And that's why you ladies rock, because you are visionaries, okay? And she came back to me and she said, well, let me reach out to Bishop Walker, maybe Bishop Reddick, Bishop Brown, and they were all in favor of it. I remember I only wanted to do one show. So that show went well, and in the middle of the show, she texts me. I'm not going to name the bishop, but she texts me and she said, so this bishop wants to know, when are you going to interview him? And subsequently, the conversations, CME 149, 150, 151 was born. And I owe a debt of gratitude to Dr. Theresa Duhart for helping me to carry out what was 2 years worth of shows. 2 years, Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. So Dr. Duhart, I thank you again. You are a blessing to the kingdom, blessing to our church, and blessing to Skip Mason. And so we want to give you the final word to kind of wrap up what we have heard today, what we've seen today, and to kind of guide us as we go along with you and your vision and the college's vision for technology in our church. So I will turn it over to you for your closing and final remarks.
Mason, thank you again for this platform. And it was really important for me, as we celebrate Women's History Month, to let the church, the CME church, know that we have brilliant women who serve work in technology, and they are also working in their churches as well. We had an amazing panel of 9 ladies who are just doing phenomenal things, not only in their churches, their Episcopal district, but also who have careers in communication and particularly IT fields. I thought it was also important to focus on women in technology because women can bring a fresh approach and offer unique perspectives to meet challenges, solve problems, design new products. They can also bring more women in the tech fold. And since technology also offers high salary opportunities, their presence in the industry can help reduce the overall gender gap that we have in the field. So I am incredibly grateful for them sharing. I'm grateful for them to be colleagues who are serving in the ministry in some form or fashion. And more important, I'm thankful for their commitment in serving the kingdom and bringing their special gift sets, skill sets to the church so that we can be better served. And so I do want to say that, yes, it's going to be important for our members and our churches to stay connected. We need, like you see in the panel today, an intergenerational panel of youth, young adults, adults in our local churches to make sure that we are amplifying the message of Jesus Christ and using technology to do it. Yes, Reverend Valencia Etner. It's one of the goals of the General Department of CIT to establish an IT think tank. That was, part of that resolution that we had there, and also to ensure that we have these CIT ministry teams that are functioning in these annual conferences. As you can see, many of the ladies are serving within their Episcopal districts or perhaps in their local churches as well. So I am again grateful that women serve in technology. They're at the table. They are bring their talents to ensure that, we are represented. We are showing up. We are here. And I'm just going to close by saying that, CIT is better as a result of a lot of the women that you've seen here. Okay, we're counting on them. We're counting on men as well to help build up the department. So it was important this month to feature the women, and perhaps in June we'll feature the men in ministry as well. So again, thank you, Dr. Mason, for this platform. Thank you for always being there. And thank you for your voice. You are a leader. We look to you as we do our regular newscasters. We know that you can bring it. You can tell a story. And we love for you to share your gifts with us as well. So thank you again. I really appreciate your platform.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I've been a little lazy the last few months, I'll admit, but this has certainly ignited, again, my passion. And spending my afternoon with these wonderful panelists that you have assembled, and yourself, because this is really the first time that I've had a chance to interview you, Dr. Duhart. And so I'm glad to be able to do that. Thank you all again for sharing with us. And we are grateful. And I'm just going to play just a tad bit of Whitney Houston's I'm Every Woman, because you all embody and exemplify. And I hope Facebook doesn't kick me off because I'm playing a non-copyrighted song. That's another discussion and panel, right, Dr. Duhart?
That's right. But I have a copyright license.
That's right.
I have a copyright license
right.
for the church. Now, may not include Whitney Houston, but I'll look her up in our licensing.
Well, it's only going to be just a smidgen, just enough to let everybody know that the women in technology in the CME Church, they absolutely rock. You all be blessed, go in love and go in peace and go in joy until we are together again.